Welcome to Efficient Brewing. By now you've probably seen another videos by Efficient Brewing about how to set up your brewery, create your beers, set up your brew plan, and then even generate your schedule. And so on the dashboard, or the homepage here, we can actually see the details about the brewery and the current state of where you're at. So now we've got our green line here, which is our current day. And so this then tells us the activities that we will need to be doing today and coming up from today. But in this video, what we want to do is look at how we could update this schedule. So the updates we're going to look at are, first of all, if we want to add another beer. And so this is something that I know can be very challenging if you're doing the schedule by hand, because once you've produced your schedule, you do not necessarily want to change anything. And so then when you have to change things, and you have to redo your schedule from scratch. But with Efficient Brewing, we can actually use the optimization in order to be able to reproduce a new schedule. And then the next thing that we'll do afterwards is to then modify some of the details about the schedule itself. So we go to the update. And so I actually want to create a new beer in our brew plan. So I'm going to select our start date as being today, because for this particular case, it doesn't matter too much. And I want to add in another beer. So the next beer that I want to add in is going to be another pale ale. And so this is going to be called Pale Ale 10. And it's going to be 60 hectolitres. So I'm not going to set any due date or start date. I'm going to update our brew plan. And then I'll also add another IPA. And so again, 60 hectolitres. Good. So we'll save the changes, as we do with everything with Efficient Brewing. So you can see here on our brew plan at the top, we have a scheduled start for all of the brews that we had before. And then the two new ones don't have a scheduled start date. So if I go back home, we can then see actually the same thing. So we'll have in our brew plan here, we actually have the two extra that don't have any scheduled start date. So let's go back to the update, and now I want to update my schedule. So I'm going to set the start date a little bit later. So I actually am interested in at the week starting the 17th. So by doing this, what it means is that everything that's happened before the 17th is fixed. So not these ones aren't going to change, but everything that's happened after the 17th could change because we're making a difference to the optimization. So what I want to do now is look at the unscheduled tasks. So I have two unscheduled tasks, Pale Ale 10 and IPA 11. And so I want to add these into the schedule. And so I'd like to actually start this batch I want to start the pale ale on the Wednesday. And so I'm going to add that task. And then the next thing I want to do, and so we can see now that Pale Ale 10 starting on the Wednesday, and it's been added into the schedule. And so that was actually a very simple task. So I actually want to now add IPA 11, and so the start date for that I actually will put in on Monday, so Monday the 24th. So let's add that into the schedule. And so I'm going to hit add task. And so now some things actually changed a little bit more. So things got moved around because we didn't have the capacity in our fermentation vessels to allow that to work. So we need to move a few things around in order to do that. Just wind the video back and you can see that some of these actually changed, the order in which we're actually brewing these beers. So we don't necessarily have to keep that. We could actually discard these changes because we may not actually have liked the change that was made. Or we can just save them and continue on with the schedule that we have. But we may want to review the schedule to make sure everything is still in order as to what we want. So I'm just going to save these changes because it's what I'd like to keep. So now the next part is that we actually would like to update some of the scheduled tasks. Now one thing that is important here, as I said before, when we actually added an unscheduled task, we had some of the dates change. So what we could do is actually say here, we're going to look at let's look at Pilsner number 6. And so we have all the dates of when it's going to start and finish brewing, the fermentation start and finish, and the conditioning to start and finish. We may actually want this to be fixed. And so we hit this fixed dates. So it means that if we select this and then we hit update, it means that whenever we make a change to the schedule, those dates will not change. So it's similar to when you actually have anything that happened before this change date. So if we tried to fix it, and so this has got now a star next to it to indicate that it has fixed dates. And so nothing will change if we were to add another unscheduled task. But we don't have any other unscheduled tasks, so that we can't run that, but it's just an indication of what you could do. Now let's look at another one. So let's say now that we have, so this IPA, and so it's going to finish on the 18th. And for the 18th, we actually know, well, we're going to have some holidays at that time, so it won't be able to happen. So let's look at, so IPA 9. So we actually want the fermentation to finish. So we're going to go, so that's actually happening on the Friday. Let's finish it now on the Monday, because we wanted to go away for the weekend and we won't be able to be available to be able to do the, to take out the beer on that Friday. So now we'll hit update. And so we had IPA 9, and so that's this one here. And so now you can see that it's finishing on the 21st, as before it was finishing on the 18th. So we can do the same now. Let's see our IPA Special 3. So let's change that. So let's change the IPA Special. We'd actually like to change this one completely. So let's change the brewing. We don't want to brew this on the 16th. Let's actually brew it. We can brew this now also on the 21st, because we decided that we're going to be on holiday, so we don't want to clash with the IPA 1, but we can start brewing it on the 21st. So we need to change our days here, and then it's going to start fermenting on the Tuesday, the 22nd, and so then we're actually going to have it finish in May. So now let's update this. And so now if we look at our IPA Special 3, it's now been changed to starting on the 21st, the day before we start this IPA 1, and then the IPA Special 3 will now finish on the 5th of May. So this is how we can actually modify our schedule. And so there's a number of different changes we can do. We can just change the fermentation time. We don't necessarily want to extend out the brewing time. Generally, that's going to be 1 day. We also could change the conditioning time. And as I said, the fermentation time is a minimum, so you could actually change this to being whatever you would like. So there's some things that you can do with efficient brewing. One of the powers of efficient brewing and using optimization is this unscheduled task activity, because it allows you to add unscheduled tasks very, very easily without actually having to redo your schedule from scratch. And then if you do actually add a task and you don't actually like what happened, you can always discard the changes and go back to the original schedule that you had. So again, I've been changing some details about this schedule, so I'm going to hit Save Changes, so everything gets saved. And then when we go back to our home page, then everything will be updated as expected.